No Time to Die. So, No Time to Die, it is the next James Bond film, and it is Daniel Craig's last. And we've been waiting around for it a while. It's been delayed, of course, a lot due to COVID and whatnot, but finally we have it. It's here. It picks up not long after the end of Spectre, so it seems, and the plot follows a threat that's very personal to our heroes. And due to this, it means Bond will once again have to come out of retirement. He's tried to retire many times from this job, but he'll have to come out again in order to face this threat. And this means he'll have to team up with, some of the old allies we've seen throughout his Bond movies, as well as some new ones. Now, I was slightly rusty on my knowledge of Spectre, obviously the film prior. And even when I saw it, maybe a year ago when I rewatched it at that time, I still found the plot a little bit confusing, and I wasn't completely convinced by the movie itself. But this film actually does a really good job of making it kind of clear what's going on, how it relates to Spectre, and it's not just thrown at you through exposition. Like, they just make things very clear through the dialogue and stuff about what the situation is and how it relates to that movie. So if you're not fully up to date, it's actually not that bad. You can sort of follow along, and I was kind of surprised by how easy it was to follow along with the plot, considering it's trying to tie back to old movies. I mean, it does seem like Spectre, when they made it, was meant to be like Craig's last movie. I believe that was their intention. But here they've done a much better send-off for him, and they improvised really well, to be fair. They didn't just clean the slate from Spectre and say, okay, forget that movie, this is going to be just a new ending story. They actually decided to try and continue on from Spectre, which, fair play to them. They could have easily just sort of been like, forget that, this will be his actual last movie, but they've actually tried to, continue the plot, and they improvised it well, to be fair, to continue on from that and make it a more fascinating story that's kind of spanning two movies. And this is quite a long movie as well. I think it's about 2 hours 40, but it doesn't drag, I wouldn't say. I didn't feel like it was dragging. I wasn't clock watching at any point. It's split up well, and that's kind of easily defined by all the different locations they're at throughout the movie. You kind of know, okay, at one point they're in like Italy, one point they're in Cuba, one point they're on an island, like all this stuff. You just sort of use it to split the movie up, so it feels like the movie has loads of variety throughout that long runtime. And what's good about this movie is we get to see loads of different perspectives, different points of view. Of course, with the movie being so long, that's beneficial to it, so it's not just all the time with Bond or majority. You get a fair bit of time with, other supporting characters, that are on his side. You get views from the villain's point of view. Like, they really show you sort of every aspect, so you can see how the plot is unfolding from every point of view and how it's all sort of coming together. And that was really good. It made it make more sense. And this film definitely tried to be the biggest and like the most grand scheme in terms of the plot and the threat. It was really like, okay, we are actually going to go out with a bang, like full on. Here's a massive threat. It wasn't like a small time threat, maybe like there was in Skyfall or Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, blah blah blah. This was like a big threat, world threatening type thing. Now, the villain for this movie was Rami Malek, Rami Malek was playing the villain. He was a great villain. He was just so menacing. Just everything about it, like the mannerisms, like the posture, the outfit, the scars on the face, the way he spoke, the eyes. Rami Malek is very good doing the eyes and stuff. I don't know, just giving that look. So he really nailed his performance. I thought he was a really good Bond villain. And he really gave me like an old school Bond villain type vibe, where he's very sort of, even though he's not an eccentric character himself, he just sort of comes across that way because of, like I said, all his mannerisms and stuff. And it definitely feels old school in terms of like the weapon he's using, the threat he's using. It's like a modern twist on like just a typical deadly weapon. I won't say what it is, but I really like the way they did that, and it kind of made it feel old school. And I kind of like that they did that with this movie. They decided not to keep it, really down to earth in a sense and more realistic like Casino Royale was. They said, let's kind of just go all out crazy. Let's have some fun in this movie. Let's, introduce loads of cool new gadgets, which they did. Cool new vehicles, which they did. And then, cool new super deadly weapons, which they did. And it was cool to see all those things. I didn't expect that. I thought they were going to try and be like really grounded or something in this, but they were like, yeah, let's have some fun. Of course, I love Casino Royale and Skyfall. I think those two movies are still better than this one But this film really just, it was nice that it changed the formula and it did something different, added some actual variety into this, into Daniel Craig's James Bond movies. But of course, speaking of Rami Malek, I do think we should have got more of him. There wasn't quite enough of him, with, obviously, as I said, it's a long movie and a lot of characters get a lot of the time, but I think he didn't get enough. I wanted a little bit more of Rami Malek, because whenever he was on screen, I was just sort of, like fixated, like really intrigued by his character. I wanted to always hear what he had to say. I always wanted to see what he was going to do, and I just think we didn't quite get enough. So just a little bit more, give him a bit more screen time. It would have been nice. Now, Craig was brilliant in this movie, as he always is, doing the stunts that he does, and just, his performance, everything, always looking sharp. It's just everything he did was great, as he has done in the prior movies. Even the ones that haven't been so good, he's had the ability to carry them to make them slightly better. And this, he was outstanding again. But it doesn't just stop with him. I'd say the supporting cast were all really, really strong, on top of their game, especially the new 007. She was actually a really good character. Obviously, it's going to be a case of when they introduce, oh yeah, she's Bond's replacement. You as a viewer is probably automatically meant to not like her or something. But kind of from the start, I was just like, you know what, she seems kind of badass. And, she just gets better throughout the movie. I thought she was a really, really cool character. And another one who stood out to me was the character played by Ana de Armas. See that? Tries to put a little flair on that pronunciation. Probably just fucked it up, butchered the name. But she was so cool in this movie. She had a really cool little appearance. It was badass once again. And yeah, she was great. And she's hot. Anyway, now I won't go into more detail with the plot, as I don't want to give it away. Obviously, you can get a slight gist on the trailers, but it's not completely clear what's going to be happening in this movie, and I want to keep it that way for you guys that haven't seen it. But what I will say is this was the ending Craig deserved. If it had just ended with Spectre, it would have been disappointing. It would have been a forgetful ending for his movies, but this is not forgettable at all. It's unforgettable, I'd say. It really it sticks with you a little bit. It's certainly stuck with me a bit since I saw it, and yeah, it's a standout movie, and it's the ending we should have got initially. It's kind of like Spectre and No Time to Die, or like a two-part ending, because it's like they tried to wrap it up in Spectre, didn't quite land. So this is almost just the second part, I'd say, and it's the better part for sure. I mean, this movie isn't perfect. I mean, obviously, I have to compare it to the other Daniel Craig movies. Casino Royale is a 10 out of 10 movie. I think that movie's a masterpiece. I just can't fault that movie. It's so damn good. Skyfall is second. It's not quite as good. It has some moments that are a bit but that's still a really, really good James Bond film. Quantum of Solace is pretty awful. It's a very forgettable one of his. And then Spectre I thought was just kind of average. It didn't quite land. But this is certainly up there with the better ones. This is a good movie. It's not disappointing. It's not bad. It's a good movie. Old and new characters were great. The action sequences and stunts were great. The music by Hans Zimmer, really, really good. The gadgets, the cars, everything, all so cool. And the conclusion is just, yeah, I like the conclusion. I like how they ended this movie. I won't say any more about it. Now, all in all, Craig has been a great Bond, and I think they're going to find it very, very hard to replace him. And find someone that's just going to bring that sort of swagger, that classiness, that charisma to the screen like he has. He's made some really good Bond films here, and he's always put in really great performances. And despite the Bond films that I mentioned before that weren't as good, he's still putting great performances there to make the films watchable. He made them better. He carried them, to a certain better, rating than they would have been without him, without his good performance. So yeah, whoever they pick next, they've got a job on. It's going to be tough, but we'll see. Overall, I'm going to give No Time to Die a 7.5 out of 10. It's hard. It's kind of between like 7.5 and 8. 7.75. I don't want to get that intricate with my ratings. We'll go for 7.5. I think it wasn't perfect, because it was trying to continue on from a story before that wasn't all that. So, but, still did a really good job. Really, really good job. So yeah, 7.5. Thank you all for watching. Have you seen it yet? Do let me know what you thought about the movie. Do you think it's one of the better ones? Were you not that impressed? and what's your favourite Daniel Craig movie. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.